We're a full bespoke HR consultancy business. So what that means is we solve people problems. So there's three parts to that business. We're probably best known for our executive and governance appointments. And we also do really, our business is moving into the real flexible workplace piece, because we find that contracting is an increasingly important part of our workforce these days, especially in this COVID environment. Then we have the full HR consultancy side, which is just solving all of those people problems wide and varied. And then we have a leadership development side of the business, which is really all about growing our leadership capability within the South Island, which we think is incredibly important. Ultimately, I think the first thing we need to think about is that a leader needs to be able to articulate the purpose or the why of the business. So essentially, why does the business exist beyond just making money? I think that's really important. I think one of the second things is that they need to be able to articulate and motivate people around a vision or in a strategy, so that people feel that, yes, that's the direction that, I'm passionate about that and I want to head in that direction with you and help you. Ultimately, I think it's really important for leaders to be approachable and balanced in their approach. So how they show up every day needs to be the same. People don't want to go into work and not know what sort of mood their leader is going to be in. That would be awful. I think that they need to, we have seen some great examples and some terrible examples of leadership around the world at the moment. And I think ultimately, leading with empathy is incredibly important. I know it's kind of a bit buzz at the moment, but I do think that having someone who is kind and has a good amount of emotional intelligence is really important in a leader. Yeah, and I think it's someone who can really kind of empower and understand what motivates all of their team members. So there is a bit of an art to really great recruitment, and ultimately you need to run a full process to make sure that you have, so ideally some behavioural based interviewing is involved. It's around really robust reference checking so that everything lines up with the competencies of the role, and ideally perhaps some psychometric assessments as well is really fantastic to be able to understand what someone's capability for the role might look like, and also what their development needs might look like, because no one is perfect, and ultimately if you're forewarned, you're forearmed. Yeah, so a few things to think about before you employ people. A really important one, I think, is to really understand what does success look like for the position. So if you think about in 12 months' time, if you've employed this person, what does great look like? And be able to really kind of articulate that. So that's the first thing. Yeah, I think it's really important to understand what skill sets will complement you and the team that this person will be working with closely. Because ultimately you never want, it's easy to recruit someone who's like you, and you don't want to do that. You want to recruit people whose skill sets will complement yours. But at the end of the day, you can't teach attitude. So people can learn all sorts of things, change industries, change roles, but you can't ever teach, passion and enthusiasm and all of those innate personality traits that go with people. You should start thinking about taking on either a new contractor or a new employee when either you, as the sole person in your business, or your team members start to become really stretched, that you also have a good pipeline of work and some good cash flow forecasting to know that you can effectively absorb the cost of an extra person. Certainly contracting is a really great option, and it's certainly a trend that we are seeing through the future of work. So we'll see that people there will be fewer employees, and people will be contracted to do certain projects, and they could be based anywhere in the globe. So it's certainly an increasing trend that we're seeing. But ultimately, it depends on what you need. So, if you are looking for a role that you see to be really long-term in your business, then an employee is obviously the best way to go. I think it's really about setting expectations. So expectations come in many forms. They can come in the form of a written position description. They then come in an induction or an onboarding process when you're bringing someone into your organisation. And then your expectations need to be followed up in your regular meetings that you're having with your team members. And it's all around, if you set the expectations and there's no surprises, then that is the first, place to start, because then you can say, we've had this discussion, that I need you to behave in whatever manner that is. So it's actually quite simple. But ultimately, again, if you can have those honest, regular conversations with your staff members, so that there's no real surprises, then that is the best way to handle these situations. It's when behaviour gets left, and it gets to the point where it actually becomes really dire, that people wind up in a bit of a troublesome spot. So ultimately, it is about having those conversations little and often, and it's about nipping things in the bud as soon as you can. So if something's happened, don't leave it a week until you address it. Try and get to the point and get that person to have a conversation. And I always say to people, you actually need to just put your big girl knickers on and get in there and have the conversation. Redundancy is a very clear process that organisations need to follow, and it's really around ensuring that people are consulted ultimately around what are the proposed changes, ensuring that their feedback is really listened to, so that it is a genuine proposal for change, and then decisions need to be made from there. But it's a process that can go really wrong, so we definitely recommend that people seek some advice around that. Ultimately, I think you just need to ask them what motivates them. It's something that leaders fail to do time and time again, and it's just really obvious, but it's almost too obvious. So actually, just asking people what motivates them. What is it that gets them out of bed in the morning? What is it that they're hoping to do? What are their hopes and dreams? So it's actually about, you can't keep staff forever, and it's actually about understanding what it is that motivates them. You help them on their journey, they help you, and then it's really about, yeah, building people's capability so they can fly and do whatever else they really want to do in their careers. We bring a really wide, diverse skill set in our team. We also bring over 100 years of experience in human resources to businesses. So it means that we can go back to our team, and we have specialists in various fields. So while you might only be paying a certain amount, you've got a depth of experience across the team that we can draw on. So you get specialist skill sets for what is effectively a really great price.